Welcome to Parc Ferm, the Canadian Formula One podcast. We talk race reviews, news from the paddock, and bring you everything from the world of Formula One. And now your hosts, Drew, Walker, Ed, and Tomas.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Parc Ferm, the Canadian Formula One podcast. We are back after a bit of a break. Formula One is on their summer break. We took a bit of a summer break, and we're back with everybody. We got all the boys here, so in my opinion, absolutely worth the wait. We got Drew, we got Ed, we got Thomas, and we got me, Walker. We're all here, and it's really nice to have everyone back together again. So as you may or may not know, Formula One has been on their summer break for the last few weeks, which has given all of us a chance to reflect on the first half of the season that was. And we thought we'd maybe use this opportunity to kind of talk about some of the happenings, some of the things that's happened in the first half, review some of the teams that have done well, some of the drivers that have done well, and others that haven't. And we would love to hear, all of your thoughts as well, right, in the Discord, if you want to share them. But without further ado, I think it's time that we kind of kick off this little half year in review. And I think one of the things that we all went into this year with were obviously some predictions. We thought, had some ideas of who was going to do well, who wasn't, teams that were coming up that weren't. Looking back at the first half, how do you feel your season opening predictions have fared so far? Drew, what do you think?
Well, if you ask me the first half of the season, Aston Martin was looking fresh. I had all my chips in on Old Man Rivers, and I thought he was going to just absolutely run amok. And he was confident enough to say, for the rest of the season, you won't see me anywhere but on a podium. And I think after that, he's only been on one podium. So the first 6, he was on 6, and the second 6, he's been on 1. And so I think Aston Martin came with their A game early. They put all their upgrades early day. Like, they didn't spread it out over the season. They just came with their complete package right off the get. And I think that's hurt them because other teams like McLaren have been able to progressively get better and better throughout the season and figure out what works and what doesn't work and kind of shift from there. So they've been a little more nimble, which I think has allowed them to kind of get to where they're at now, which is, fighting for that second shot. And I really think that Aston Martin needs to either come up with some new upgrades or just get a better second driver, because they're going to lose that second position very quickly to Mercedes if they don't figure out a dual accompaniment that's going to score points, because Lance Stroll can't keep doing what he's doing. What are your thoughts, Ed?
Okay, so I have.
Don't edit out Thomas's smile, though. That has to stay.
That's got to stay. That's going to be the fucking.
It's right there. It's right there.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, I had high hopes for Aston Martin at the start of this season because I knew that somehow Mercedes was not going to show up at all. They are in the midway of the pack, which is fine, but again, nothing really to the extent of them really showing out and improving drastically compared to how they were last year. The other teams too that I really would have wanted to kind of show up to was Ferrari, but you know what? They're just continuing their ever so slightly egress down to the bottom of the mid pack at this point. And I think this one is pretty much a write-off for them this year. I think Leclerc has lost all of his confidence within the team and with the car. Sainz, on the other hand, still feels like he doesn't know that he's in a strong car and in a fast car. So and I know he's fast. He's shown it in the previous teams that he was with McLaren, also with Toro Rosso back in the day. But at this point, Ferrari's pretty much a done for. I think it's a write off for next year. for when the new changes on the cars 2024 2025 as they come in. How about you, Tomas?
I was really hoping or rooting as well for Aston Martin. They came out really strong at the beginning of the season, and then like what Edward said, they kind of fell flat. Meanwhile, McLaren started climbing. At the same time, I was secretly kind of hoping Mercedes and Ferrari would be in there too and give Red Bull a fight, but that hasn't happened. And honestly, at this point of the season, it's not going to happen. I still hope that Aston Martin somehow, exits their woes, I guess, and Fernando's going to start being on the podium again. But again, I don't see that happening. I think other teams like McLaren is beating them on upgrades, on strategy. Even Mercedes is looking stronger than them at this point, I think. So that's where I'm at. Walker.
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of things here. I mean, you've all mentioned Aston Martin, and I think that's something that we enjoyed seeing in the first half of the season. I'd love to know your thoughts as well. Maybe I can pick up on this afterwards. Like, where you saw Aston Martin prior to the season starting. Was this a team that we really thought would have a strong start prior to the start? So Aston Martin is one of them. I think another thing that surprised me a little bit first half of the year was, I think we all knew Red Bull had a really strong car based on last year. I don't know if I predicted them walking, and by them I'm really talking about Max. I don't know if I predicted them, i.e. Max, walking away as fast and as dominantly as they have so far this year. I thought there would be a little bit more competition. I thought there would be, a bit more of a challenge, whether it would come from a Ferrari maybe that could step up and really put a little bit of pressure. Because Ferrari had a stronger car comparatively to Red Bull last year, to what they have right now at least. And I thought they would maybe be able to pick up and carry some of that momentum. Mercedes was also really, again, as a fan, you want to see them do well, and I think they've made really impressive strides, especially when you see the rest of the field. And when looking at the first half, McLaren was a really interesting story, right? And how poorly they started and how inefficient that car was early on and how they were able to turn it on for those last few races and really make a lot of progress. I think those were really kind of like the biggest takeaways for me and things that, I definitely did not see coming up until this point of the season. Do we have a consensus on who we feel is the most improved team so far in the first half? Drew, you want to throw somebody out?
Yeah, I like what Williams has been doing. I would just say that, like, as far as improved teams go, like, I didn't see Williams being in the 7th position. That was not something that I thought coming into summer break that they would be in 7th. And like, they're tied for 7th they're tied for points with Haas. So like, if you want to call them 7th, 8th, they're tied for 7th, whatever. But to see Williams do what they've done with the amount of money that they've had, I would say that they're probably the most outstanding team so far this year with their ability to do the most with the least. And I would argue if Logan Sargent was able to produce at least equal results or somewhat equal results as Alex Albon, I think that team would be doing better than Alpine at this point. Like, I really think that would be a possibility. And I would love to see them do well for the end of the year, because I think they would do well with some confidence going into next season. And just to see them have a strong ending would be awesome, because they would have more points if there was a couple. I can't remember the exact races at this point, but I know Albon and Sargent's pretty much gone out every race. He's a monkey. But I think Albon has had a couple of races where he should have been in points and didn't get them just because of whatever happened. And I think there's an ability for him to have some more points there. And I'd love to see them actually battle it out with Alpine. That would be that'd be cool. But yeah, I guess to sum it up, Williams is probably My most improved from the start of the year. How about you, Thomas?
Quite a few teams as well. They improved. Someone that stands out to me is Haas. They showed up pretty strong compared to previous years. They haven't been on the podium or anything, obviously, but they seem like they almost have their shit together, and they're actually somewhat now competitive, or at least trying to be. And hoping that they're gonna push for it. But like as you said, Williams is fucking killing it as well. AlphaTauri, is a little bit of an improve, or was a little bit of an improvement. But yeah, Haas would be my team that got my attention early on. Ed.
I'm with Williams on this one too. I mean, from the start, they were expected to be the worst team in 2022, but they're in seventh, as Drew had said, and they were also expected to be the slowest team in the grid too, because budget wise, the car and everything is just like their package isn't that great. But there's Alex Albon, I think, is the that lucky gem that they have right now, because he's consistently a threat in the low scoring points in each and every race, specifically in this season. Logan Sargent, just like Nick DeVries, he's in the first uh, season that he's racing for Formula One, so wasn't really expecting anything from him, but at least just 1 point. He still doesn't have a point. He doesn't have a secured seat next season. And then Williams, what they were trying to do is they were trying to at least like help him out and see if he could like improve. But I think this is more for Alex Albon's team, and I'm seeing a lot more I'm seeing a lot more for them for the second half of the season. I would probably expect them to either remain to be tie with Haas, or go ahead of Haas, and as Drew and Tomas said, take the fight to Alpine. Walker?
Yeah, I mean, Williams is a great answer. So without trying to sound like a broken record and just do something a little bit different, I'm gonna go with Mercedes. If we're really looking at the question of most improved from last year for the first half, I'm going to take Mercedes. I think they found some consistency. I think both of their drivers, for the most part, have been performing well. Not amazing, not in all races, but I think the fact that they are second in the constructors right now, and that they have what I would consider a fairly commanding lead over an Aston and Ferrari teams that don't seem particularly strong right now. I'm just going to change it up and go for Mercedes. How about the most disappointing team? I feel like there are a lot more candidates right now for most disappointing compared to last year. I see Drew has his hands up, which means he has something very important to say. So, Drew,
Well,
please.
I'd like to think everything I say is important, but that's besides the point. And as narcissistic as that sounds, I'm going to go with, you know what? Let me comment first. I think you're right 100% on the Mercedes thing as far as it being an improved team, but I think their consistency has been the best, because they had to dump that no pod idea and have to go with the side pods like everybody else. They realized that wasn't working out for them. So they made a big switch kind of like a first quarter way through the season and kind of really had to do what they had. But consistency has been their key. And having both drivers in the points, or Lewis as close to the podium or on the podium as possible, and George is as close to him. I think you're 100% right that Mercedes has done a great job with consistency, where I think Aston and Ferrari have great cars, but they're only good when they're good.
They're only good when they're good. Wow, that's so insightful. That's
right. I'd like to think so. One of those truisms, water's
really
wet,
good.
grass is green. Fuck off. AlphaTauri has been my most disappointing. I think that car has absolutely shit the bed. And if you're going to be running a very similar car and setup to Red Bull, your sister company, you think the older brother would just share a couple of notes and just be like, listen, if you're going to be, grooming our young drivers to come up and grab the big seats in Red Bull, why wouldn't they help them out as best as possible? I understand. I don't know. To me, they're the biggest disappointment. Like to be, in last in the constructor standings at this point, like that's fucking brutal. Like that's bad. And like little Yuki's been so close. Like he was captain 11, like nonstop throughout the season, 10, 11, 10. And they just like, he just can't seem to get it. And it's really disappointing to see, a couple of good drivers lose out on opportunities because the car has just absolutely shit the bed. And I don't know if they're just counting this year as a loss, but like they haven't done anything, in my opinion, to improve it at all. If anything, the car's gotten worse. And if you're competing against Alfa Romeo, who's arguably the second worst team on the grid, then like, are you aiming, like they're both gunning for the bottom at this point? Like, do they know that they don't get draft picks? Like you can't just gun for the bottom at the end of the year and just like pick up a big draft pick. Like I don't know.
They get wind tunnel time though. That's
they
what
get,
they get.
yes, you're right. They get wind tunnel time, but I would argue AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo are both, just shit. Just shit.
I was gonna say I agree with you, Drew, but I was gonna pick Alfa Romeo just because Joe seems like he comes from money and he's just there for fun, and Bottas is not in it anymore. It just seems like his heart is not in it, which is a shame because at Mercedes he was a solid driver. But now, I'm sorry, the whole team. At the beginning of the season, I was really rooting for them. I thought they're gonna do good or great. Garbage, absolute shit, disappointment, and it's sad. It's really sad to see that go. It's almost like they don't give a shit. They're just waiting for Audi to absorb them and try then. That's what I think about that. I think that's the most disappointing one.
Ed, how about you? Most disappointing team?
Ferrari. I mean, I already said it when I was talking about Williams, but yeah, I thought that they were going to do something this year. I thought that, with the new team principal, maybe, something might happen. You know what? Yeah, they're pretty much done for. I don't think they're ever going to be that team that's going to be the old Ferrari where they're going to place well, or they're going to fight for the championship, or even at the very least constructors. Not even there. I mean, they're a respected brand, they're a respected team. They have racing heritage. There's nothing there.
Yeah, well, you know what? They seem to think they have a chance, and so does Charles, given the reported deal he's about to sign. Did he sign it yet? He hasn't signed it yet, right?
I heard about it. I think we're all on the same Instagram, troll thing where like people are like, Lewis is the same thing. I hear like, update, breaking news, Lewis signs a contract, and like there's an asterisk
confirmed.
Yeah, there's an asterisk beside it saying like, speculative or whatever, but I don't know. No, Formula One, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know as of right now, hasn't put out anything formal.
Yeah. Disappointing team for me. I'm gonna go with Alpine. Everyone's had good. The Alphas both suck. Ferrari's been a disappointment. And for variety, I'm gonna go with Alpine because I think coming into this year, a promising team, had some what you would thought would have some decent leadership at the time. French team, couple of French drivers, both talented drivers in my opinion. I thought that they would be a lot more threatening to that mid-pack, to challenge someone like a McLaren or an Aston or something like that. And they just haven't been able to get it together. And obviously they've had big changes there going into the end of the first half with some leadership changes. And who knows really what the real reasons are behind that, or whether Otmar was really, making some positive changes and just ran out of runway. You don't really know, but I like that team in theory, and I like those drivers. So to see them kind of withering away with, what do they have right now? 11 points. 57 points.
Yeah, 57.
I was looking at Williams. But still, not where I'd want to see them place. And I think they've had some, in the universe of like shitty races in Formula One this year, you think of Ferrari, they always make dumbass mistakes, but like Alpine has shit the bed a number of times this year, whether it's multiple penalties, whether it's just like throwing the car off track, driver error. It's just been a bit of a mess. So Alpine, I think, has been my most disappointing team so far. let's move on to the drivers. I know we've talked about this a little bit. Really quickly, most improved driver this year, first half compared to last. Drew, go.
Oh, my homeboy Oscar Piastri just came out of nowhere. I think he finally got in a car that had some ability. He was able to show his talent. I don't know if it's the most improved, but I think it was, from what we've been able to see out of him to what we've seen out of him, has been absolutely outstanding. I'm so excited to watch this young buck, and I think Lando better be a little bit nervous. I think he's under the gun now, because now you got these two young cats both in the same kind of frame in their career. Oscar obviously being a rookie. After watching the last few races, I actually forgot he was a rookie, because like my expectation level of him already is so high because of the talent that I see and like his spatial awareness and stuff. Obviously he got fucked on the last race or whatever, but like it is what it is. That shit happens, racing incident. But like, just to watch him do so well once that car turned up was just outstanding. So yeah, I guess fast answer, Oscar Piastri for
Can
sure.
you call him most improved if he wasn't racing last year? Improved from what?
Most improved from the beginning of the year.
From the beginning of the year. Oh, I was saying compared to last year, but that's okay.
But then yes, he went from Formula 2 to Formula 1. That's a fucking big improvement.
All right. I'll give it to you, Oscar Piastri. Thomas?
I'm going to say Max Verstappen. And I'm not joking. I think last year he killed it, but this year he's just, he left Earth and he's in space right now at this point. He's just flying high and there's no stopping him. And I think he's going to continue flying like that. He's finishing ahead of everyone, or like us ahead of the second place by what, like 30 seconds? Come on, like that's just ridiculous. So Max Verstappen.
I respect that answer. That's a good answer. Edward?
I'm gonna go with Alonso. Old Man River is taking it to the kids. He was by this time last year he was 10th in the drivers' championship before the summer break, and now he's 3rd. So for me, that's a great improvement.
By 1 point, bro. He's 3rd by 1 fucking point. Let's hear it.
Okay,
Man,
relax.
3rd is 3rd.
Third is thank you, Thomas. Thank you. But still, like, he is being, held down right now by a horrible car.
Are we gonna go say horrible?
I would say horrible. Yeah.
Come on.
I would say horrible.
Okay.
Because they should have continued what they started at the start of the season. And look,
I think that's what they have been doing. They have been continuing it, but that's the problem. They haven't gotten it better. They've just continued it, where everyone else has made consistent progress.
Well, why are they not? Why have they not like improved? I'm sure they have the. I'm sure they have the backing. I'm sure they have like all of the Stroll's money, and with the power plant of Mercedes too. Like they should have something. Like how can McLaren be doing a lot better than them now? Like,
to be fair, they're still in 3rd place in the constructors.
Yeah, that's true. But
well ahead of McLaren. And
ahead. Yeah, well ahead. We're just blinded by the last couple races, right? Where like McLaren's like rocked out and Aston Martin's been mediocre at best. You know what I mean? But like, I'm not trying to implode your answer there, Eddie. But...
No. I everyone's comments and opinions are always open here.
You're so fucking nice, dude.
I would say I'd probably be the peaceful person in this group, not like really causing anything, except when we start talking about what happened between Hamilton and Verstappen. And
can we talk about what's happening between Thomas's fucking nose and his chin? Can we talk about all the mustache that's going on there, or what? I kind of like
it. No, I this is a black flag conversation. No, we cannot talk about this.
Oh man, too good.
Wow.
Walker, go ahead, sir.
Oh my God, what was the question?
Most improved driver compared to last year.
Improved driver.
Yeah.
I am going to go improved driver. You know what? I'm just going to give it to Albon. I think he's really pulled that team along with him. I think he's a scrappy guy. He doesn't have a lot to work with. I think the new management in Williams and the new team principal, his name is escaping me right now, but brought over from Mercedes. I think that has definitely helped. Probably add some structure and processes and stability to the team. But I think Albon has just been driving the shit out of that car, and I think he is an underrated talent, given what he has to work with and what he's been able to do with it consistently. He hasn't always gotten the points, as we mentioned earlier. He's got 11 points right now, but I think just his consistent performances, his qualifying in that car has been pretty impressive as well. So I'm going to give Albon the most improved. One of the things I want to touch on were the rookies. So we, Drew just, jizzed all over Oscar Piastri, and so we'll exclude him from this conversation because obviously he is performing extremely well right now. Once he had the car, the last few races, he's really been able to pull it together and show some really promising performance. But I want to remember another rookie that left us not too long ago in the first half of the season, Nick DeVries. I want to talk about Nick DeVries a little bit, and I want to talk about Logan Sargent. And I want to, because neither of them have done particularly well. I mean, Logan has done a little bit better just by the virtue that he still has a ride, they have a job. Yeah. But performance-wise, I think it's a little bit debatable. So you're building a team. One of your seats has to be filled by either DeVries or Sargent. Who are you taking and why?
Sargent.
Why is that?
Because he doesn't have a punchable face like Nick DeVries.
That's a fair answer.
Do we have a more objective answer, or is it just purely like the punchable face?
Just purely like that. I don't like. Yeah, exactly. Logan Sargent is my man. I'm taking him, and instead of
I agree
DeVries.
wholeheartedly on the punchable face. He absolutely has a fucking you just want to. But Logan Sargent, if it was me and my team, I would take Nick DeVries. Especially in this point in time, because he's been fucking fired. So he'd probably take half the paycheck just to get in the Formula One. So on a financial standpoint, I'd definitely take him. As far as Logan Sargent's concerned, sir, no, sir. That guy is absolutely fucking brutal. I think there's, much like a Yuki Tsunoda trying to get the Japanese fans, the Joe Granyu getting the Chinese fans. I think Logan Sargent is the USA trying to grip into having a driver in the market. And I honestly think that Williams could do much better. There are other young drivers. I would like to see fucking Schumi Schumacher back in there than over Logan Sargent, to be honest. I know we're not talking about that. We're talking about Nick or Logan. I would take Nick to summarize that answer.
Didn't Logan Sargent have to do something in order to get his super license before he even joined? Wasn't it him, or was it another driver?
Probably had to crush a couple of fucking tall boys at Bud Light and grab a gun at Walmart.
Yeah, probably that would
Yeehaw,
be
motherfucker.
To answer that question, Walker, for me, if my team is not Red Bull based, it'll be DeVries. So I know it's not the.
If it's not Red Bull based, and why does that make a difference? It's your team.
Helmut Marko. I think his pressure on Nick DeVries, wanting to perform, the expectation of him wanting to perform how he was doing so well as the super sub. The expectation was he was going to be the super sub for this year for AlphaTauri, and he just couldn't hack the pressure. And I think there's some talent there compared to Logan Sargent, who's being coddled right now by Williams and doesn't perform. Yes, DeVries has a punchable face. I would punch him. I would kick him too. But in terms of skill,
would you kick him in the face?
I would.
Is he a kickable face or kickable shins?
Kickable face. I can kick someone in the face. I can do that.
Ooh, prove it.
But for me, it's more DeVries because he's tasted wins in Formula One. He's tasted points in Formula One.
Yeah,
not Sargent. And I don't think Sargent's going to keep a seat anyway past this year. So he's gone. So DeVries.
I want to rephrase this question to Thomas. DeVries or Sargent, but they always have to wear their helmet. can't take the crash helmet off. Who you taking?
It's on driver
Still
merit.
Sargent. Still Sargent.
Still Sargent?
Yeah. Still Sargent.
Because?
Just because
He knows what face is underneath the helmet.
part of it is not that I really care about this, but to some extent I do. Diversity. It's nice to have an American driver in like a European dominated sport. I don't know why, but internal gut feeling says he is gonna have a seat, Edward, by the end of the year. There probably are gonna extend his contract, and I think he still has time and a few races to show us something really. And I hope that he doesn't finish last. But I don't know, just an internal gut feeling that's telling me this. So still Sargent.
I thought Schumacher was a really interesting, idea here. He was one of the options, but thinking about some of the drivers who are kind of sitting on the outside in right now, waiting for their seat, he's definitely somebody that I think deserves a chance beyond what he had at Haas. And I don't know if he has to buy this time at Mercedes, that Williams connection, maybe there's something there, but it would be nice to see him back again. Do we have any predictions for the second half of the year? Other than Max winning, other than Red Bull taking the constructors, what are some of what predictions that you see happening in the second half of this 2023 season?
I think that the fight for second place is going to get spicy. I think everybody's going to
constructors or drivers?
Constructors, sorry. Okay. The drivers is fucking gone, buddy. I think that case is closed. But I think the constructors championship for second is really what I'm watching for the rest of the season. Because when you watch the constructors championship, there's so many more variables, which I appreciate. I think Ferrari's going to really try to show up to bat. I think those boys are going to want to extend their contracts. They're going to want to stay. They want to prove what they've got. Mercedes is not going to give up. I think they're going to come up with some more upgrades. They're going to keep it just as spicy. Red Bull's already walking away with it. My prediction is that Checo's not going to get much better. I think he's going to perform the exact same way that he's been performing all year. I don't think it's going to get much better. I would love to see McLaren stay on the same trajectory. That would be fantastic. And I would love to see Aston Martin just pick up their socks and just really if we could have a Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston Martin, McLaren four-way battle for second, that would be fucking brilliant. What an absolute subplot to the season.
Walker, I think you're on mute.
Your mic's muted, Walker.
Good point. Thank you. Just want to clarify, Drew, that you think second place in the drivers is on lock.
No,
You think Perez has got that?
Oh,
No.
no.
I asked you,
In the drivers? No.
yeah, well, that's why I asked you about it. You said, "Oh yeah, that's done." So that's why I was curious.
Not the second in drivers. Sorry, I thought you meant the drivers, the first place. That's
No.
fucking locked. That book is closed. Oh no. That is definitely in contention. I think that is absolutely in contention because I think
I was about to
Checo's
say
first 5 races is absolutely the only thing that's keeping him on the map. And if he continues at the same pace that he is right now, he's fucked. He's right fucked out of that second spot.
Okay, so let's look at predictions then. Who's your second place in the drivers' championship, and who's your second place in the constructors?
Second place drivers, Louis. Second place constructors, Mercedes. And I'm not saying that because I'm a bona fide fucking Merc fanboy, which I am. But that's not I think their consistency is going to keep them where they need to be.
Yeah. Thomas, predictions for the second half, and let's hear your second place predictions as well.
Honestly, I'm gonna go the same as Drew. Mercedes for second place. Again, gut feeling they're gonna continue going and they're gonna show what they have left and they're gonna finish the season strong. At the same time, McLaren and same thing as Drew, McLaren and Aston Martin, I have strong feelings about them as well. But I think Mercedes is gonna pull a magic trick and gonna finish second. Ferrari, I'm sorry, I don't see anything changing for Ferrari. I think they're just too far gone. So Mercedes, let's go.
For me, prediction wise, McLaren taking it to Ferrari. I know that's bold, but One can hope. For second place drivers, Lewis Hamilton for second place, or either between Lewis and Alonso, and then for constructors, I'd go with Mercedes for second.
Yeah, I think Mercedes is got second place locked up in the constructors, and I think Lewis, just based on the consistency that they've been able to show, will also be able to keep second. We'll be able to maybe catch second in the drivers, especially if Checo continues to have poor qualifying outings and things like that. Looking forward, my big prediction, obviously, McLaren has come in hot off the first half in the last few races. They've had a lot of momentum. I think they're going to falter a little bit. I don't think they're going to be able to carry that same momentum that they've had the last 3 or 4 races. And I think, what we've seen, especially when you look at something like Spa in that last race, it seems like the performance is very much track dependent. And I don't know enough to tell you whether the remaining tracks are going to really suit their performance or not. But I just don't know if they have the consistency in their performance yet to really continue to perform at that high level across the remaining races of the season. And I think, with a fairly young driver lineup, I don't know how those drivers, especially a rookie like Piastri, is going to fare, from like the mental side of the game, being able to kind of like keep it together and really work with a car in a calm, constructive manner that maybe isn't working at all tracks. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with McLaren, but I don't think they're going to be able to keep the pace. We all think that Ferrari's pretty much done, but I'm going to give them a second chance. I think they're going to have a bit of a rebirth in the second half. I think, time away will maybe help. I think the drivers specifically, hopefully they have been able to get out of their heads and just kind of like clear themselves up. But I think Ferrari's going to make a bit of a push on Aston for that third place in the constructors. And I think Leclerc is going to come back pretty strong. And I hope he does, because I think that's an important team and an important driver to have do really well in this sport right now. We are a couple of days away from the first race of the second half of the season. We're going to the Netherlands. Max has a chance to wrap up this championship on home soil. I mean, he's going to win it eventually, so why not let him have it? Are you going to be happy to see him wrap it up on home soil? Are you still rooting against him? How do we feel about Max and his absolute dominance this year?
I think that Max, remembering back on this season, we're going to look back and we're going to be grateful that we were able to watch an absolute dog and pony show with this guy. Like, we'll look back in 5 years and be like, man, do you remember that time Max Verstappen absolutely slaughtered an entire season? And like, what a privilege that was to watch. And it was the same thing as, the Abu Dhabi 2021, like the way that all played out. I'm a big fucking Merc fanboy, as earlier stated. I hated the way it played out, but like, that season was just something to remember. And I think this season, despite it being uninteresting, quote unquote, I think it'll go down in history. I'd also like to mention, while you were talking, I was just thinking about like the cars this year, despite a couple of DNFs from Haas and their car actually blowing up, all of the cars across the grid, like the reliability has been fantastic. Like the teams have really perfected this like hybrid car, and like whatever the combination between the car, chassis, aero, they've really figured it out. And like, we haven't seen a lot of DNFs. Like, there's been a few races where all the cars that start finish. And like, when you look back in some of these older seasons, like the reasons why there were no walk-away winners where like the same team won every race is because like cars just fucking blew up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like, I just think that this season we've just, you've seen Red Bull dominant. Like, that car has just been incredible. And like Mercedes has been so consistent with that. Even like Aston Martin, Ferrari, I think's had a few issues, but like overall, I just like to say that like the cars have just been super consistent, which is, good to see. But is that also giving us a signal that there's time for a change up, because everybody's kind of perfected it now. And like now that you're just kind of making micro tweaks to just get a little bit faster, a tenth faster, a thousandth faster, whatever. There hasn't been any leaps and bounds forward as far as like what's been going on with design, from my opinion. I'm very much excited to see how the rest of the season plays out. There's a piece of me that wants Max just to win everything, just so that I can say I watched a season where like this kid just came in and fucking ran amok. But then there's also a piece of me that says fuck Max Verstappen like everybody else, and would love to see him just lose one race just to, put a kink in that armor. So I don't know.
I don't know. I kind of same thing. I'm rooting for him. That I hope he wins at his home race, and he is probably gonna win. I wouldn't want him, as strange as that sounds, I wouldn't want him to lose at this race for some reason, because I think that'd be a little bit of a kick in the nuts. It wouldn't be a good look. But yeah, I didn't really think about this, Drew. Like, my opinion about Max. I don't like him just because he's so dominant, and the races are becoming to me a little bit stale. To me personally, just because every race first, right? Like, what's the point of even watching a race? But you just made a good point. If he does end up finishing every single race first, that's gonna go down in the history books. And you're right, we're gonna be able to say, holy shit, we saw this whole season live, and he fucking dominated. So I guess that's my take, Edward.
I have the same sentiments. Reason behind that is because when I saw Max Verstappen destroy the entire field in the Sao Paulo Grand Prix in the rain back then, I found that he had similarities between him and Ayrton Senna. I know that's reaching, but hear me out. Ayrton Senna has always been a rain master. Like every time they go into the rain, he's the quickest every single time, and he's also the type of driver wherein he makes you choose. You either crash or you give away, or you both crash, or you give him way and you let him through. And I find that Verstappen has the exact same mindset. So if Verstappen is going to win it this year, same thing with what Drew said. Like, win everything. Make everyone know that you are the fastest driver. You are that driver where when you say Max Verstappen, you're in the same leagues as, the Lewis Hamiltons. You're in the same leagues as Ayrton Senna. And I would really love to see him win all of the races this year. I mean, just to put, that like final nail in the coffin. He's gonna. I don't think that he's going to lose. I mean, you've seen it. Like he went into the back of the pack. I think it was like 2 races ago, and then he still won the damn thing. I'm like, come on. I don't think I think the only reason that he would lose the race is when his engine blows up. But Red Bull's reliability right now is just on a different level. So I hope he wins. I wish the best for him, but that doesn't mean I like him back in 2021.
I'd kick him in the fucking shin.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting season. I feel like I've been watching this season, and I've been slowly progressing from like a deep-seated place of frustration to a place of appreciation. And I think, I'm not ready to see him win every race yet. I'd still like to see him come in second at least once. Just second. Give me. You don't even have to crash up. Maybe just see someone else win, someone else stay on top of the podium. But I think there's going to come a point in this season, and I don't think it's that far away, where, as we've all mentioned, there's just an aura of greatness about seeing something great and impressive. It's almost like watching, like a pitcher pitch like a perfect game, or you bowl 300, or you do whatever. At some point, your team or not your team, you just start to root for the guy because it's like impressive performance, right? And I don't think anyone's going to get any satisfaction of seeing Max come in second on the last race or the second last race, right? It's like, going back to that baseball reference again, it's like bottom of the ninth, you're pitching out the game and someone gets like a little blooper pop fly into like the midfield that counts as a hit, right? It's just not satisfying for anyone at that point. So I think we're all going to look back on it. It's going to be an absolutely dominant performance, dominant year. Again, a couple more races, maybe I'm ready to see him win everything. I don't think I'm there yet, but regardless, you have to appreciate the dominance of not only Max, but the team in general. And just, we talked about the reliability. Drew, you just touched on that. And the fact that that car has been absolutely bulletproof. The driver has been bulletproof. The team has been bulletproof. The pit stops, the planning, everything, the engineering, like it's just been a masterclass in how to run a Formula One team and how to race the season. And I think that's just, it's just really, really impressive. Going into the Dutch GP, do we want to go through our predictions 1 to 3?
Yeah.
Let's go 1 to 3, Drew. Okay, start us off.
Well, we're going to do 1 to 4 because we know 1. That's
okay.
Max. And I really hope he puts it away. And you know what? Further to your point there, Walker, like you would watch myself and I'm sure many other people who might not be 100% Max fans. If it's, down to the second last and last race and he's won everything up to that point, you're going to watch me turn into a Max Verstappen fan. Because I would just, whether you like it or not, you're watching greatness. And, I might not like him as a person, but like you have to respect his driving and it's second to none. And further that point too, when you were talking about Red Bull, from when I started watching Formula One about 6 years ago, watching that Red Bull team stay on the same trajectory. Like you watch them like fighting. And they're just started, okay, now they're winning. And then like you just watch them turn into fucking professionals and perfect their craft, both on and off the track. And like, from the engineering to the management to the driving, they've just absolutely smashed it. And if they had a better second driver, all respect due to Checo because he was great he was a good number 2 for a while, but he's fallen off a bit. But if they had a good second driver, it would just be it'd be a spectacle. But let's get back to the 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, Max Verstappen. 2, I think I'd love to see Lando Norris do it, get back onto the podium. Number 3, Lewis Hamilton, and number 4, let's go Chuckles LeBuckles.
Thomas?
1 is going to be Max because it's Max. 2 is going to be Lewis Hamilton. 3, I'm going to go with Mr. George from Mercedes, and 4, Checo.
All right. Max 1, Hamilton 2, Lando 3, Sainz 4th.
Okay, the dark horse. I like it. Okay, fucking right.
Speaking of dark horses, okay, let's go Max. Let's go Lewis. Number 3, I'm going to bring in Checo. And number 4, I'm going to bring in Gasly. Just because I want to throw Alpine a bone.
You can throw them whatever the fuck. You can throw the rocket fuel, bro, and ain't gonna do shit.
You can strap a rocket on their car, it still won't work.
Yeah,
they'll probably crash it first.
You could put it on top of a fucking Red Bull, and it would still come in last.
Yeah, I mean, for the record, I don't think anyone has gotten their predictions right this year.
Not a fucking chance.
No chance.
Nowhere close.
We're nowhere close.
Who knows?
So
who knows?
We've had a few. You know what? I think Drew, you put out a pretty safe bet this race, and so did you, Thomas. And maybe you guys will be able to break that streak. But I know I'm definitely not fucking winning. But go Gasly. Anyways, so we'll round out the episode with, of course, our favorite game, the game sweeping the nation, the Formula One nation. Name that sponsor. You know how it works. We have 2 sponsors. You have to name the car that they are on and also what that company does. So we have a couple going on. The first one has been a stalwart in automotive racing for decades, for eras. It's been all over the motor landscape. And we're going to see if you guys know which car this one sponsors. It is Castrol.
Oil
Castrol.
company.
Yeah.
Oil company. And I'm going to say Ferrari.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. It is a oil-based fuel petroleum company, and it is on the Haas car.
Okay. Ed, you have a guess?
Oil company Ferrari. That's what I would be guessing too.
All right. Well, you are all wrong. It is an oil company. We know that much. And it is on Alpine.
Fuck out of here.
Speaking of gasoline.
Is it?
It is.
Oh, interesting.
I just looked up Ferrari. I didn't see it on any Ferrari because sometimes they might sponsor a few different cars, which we figured out. But my reference point is Alpine, so you're all wrong. Next one is Citrix.
Oh, ding, ding, ding. I have no idea what they do, but I know it's...
Well, no. That's not what that's not how this fucking works.
Citrix, they are... Oh, of course, they're logistics. And it's going to go on... it's going to go on the Red Bull car.
Okay. Well,
I'm actually super not confident about that.
About which part?
Said it, I was like, wait a second. Fuck. About all of it. Yeah, I know.
All right. Tomas?
I was going to say logistics just to be a dick for Drew, but I'm not going to say that now since he said it. So Citrix, I'm going to say, I don't know, for the hell of it, crypto, something to do with crypto or something like that. For car, I'm going to go with AlphaTauri.
Okay.
Pharmaceuticals. Haas.
Wow, you're all wrong again. Citrix WebEx, you might have heard of them. They sell virtualization software that enables users to work from remote locations. It's like Zoom, but for like corporations. Have you guys ever heard of like WebEx?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Citrix. Anyways, and they were on.
We should get sponsored by these companies. We keep on talking about their products.
Yeah, we do a shit job of it though.
To our fucking podcast, I don't know if anyone's gonna go out and go download Citrix, bro.
Who knows?
Yeah, sure.
They're gonna look up Citrix Logistics. That's what you're gonna do.
For the anti-ad campaign.
Citrix Pharmaceuticals.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to track my package. I can't find the tracking number for my package. Can you help me?
I think this is Walker's favorite part of the week because he gets to tell all three of us that we're fucking wrong. Absolute idiots, bro. Just monkeys.
Well, anyways, so Drew, you came the closest. They are a sponsor for Red Bull.
Nice.
But, half right is not right. So don't get excited. All right, so that's it. That is wrapping up this first half year in review. We are back to racing this weekend, which is very exciting. I know I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure all of you are as well. It's been too long.
Yep.
A month off is too long. I don't know, but it is what it is. It's nice,
you guys.
It's nice for the team. It's great to see all of your beautiful faces.
Likewise.
And whatever's on your face, Thomas. That's nice as well, despite what Drew says.
Oh, can we all give a shout out? Is that the fucking jersey that you have on, bro?
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Stand up and model that for us. I didn't get to see. That looks fresh, bro.
It is.
Come on, talk fucking dirty to me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have the official jersey for Parc Ferm, and I'll be sending it to the rest of the team hopefully this week. And Tomas, I'll be in touch with you so that you can get your own jersey as well. Apparently, his dad is going to Lithuania in a few weeks, and he lives really close to me, so I'm just gonna drop it off. There you go.
You know what? Maybe you can also include a pack of Mach 3s as well, so take care of that.
Oh my
The
god!
last minute zinger. Let's go. Let's go.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean it.
Let's go. Okay,
All right.
guys.
So that's it
All
for
five of us would like to say bye.
Parc Ferm.
Tomas, I didn't say anything.
The Formula One. This is actually about Formula One. I promise you. This is Parc Ferm, the Formula One. It's the Canadian Formula One podcast. There we go. It's been a pleasure chatting with you all. Remember to hit us in Discord, subscribe, leave a review, and we'll be better next week. And we'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
See you guys.
To Parc Ferm, the Canadian Formula One podcast. We talk race reviews, news from the paddock, and bring you everything from the world of Formula One. And now your hosts, Drew, Walker, Ed, and Tomas.